Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us doing another indie horror spotlight. He's the owner and CEO of Monster Kid Production, as well as he has a brand new movie that's going to be doing some screenings out soon. Actually, one tomorrow in St. Louis, and the movie is called Triple X Miss. I have with us today James Dean. James, welcome to the Horror Room.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and I was excited to talk to you. Yeah,
Me too, man. Me too. So tell us a little bit about Triple Xmas.
yeah. I mean, I think so. Okay, so the basic synopsis is Santa Claus. He loses his shit and he ends up attacking a bunch of porn stars on an eccentric porn director's set, essentially.
Nice, nice.
So it kind of has all the basics covered. It has the boobs and the gore and the I mean, it has all that definitely. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this film, but I think there's also some scares like sprinkled throughout.
Hmm.
I you know I don't take myself too serious. I think that taking things too serious in general is just, I don't know. It's life's life's too hard as it is. I don't need to take certain things too serious, and I love all kinds of movies, but I hope most people when they watch this they just have fun. Like I hope they have a fun, good time. We weren't trying to recreate anything. I do love 80s horror, and we did
Me
push
too.
really hard. Yeah, and we did push really hard to really go with practical effects for almost every single kill. And so that's very clear. But we weren't trying to like copy anything necessarily. There was a lot of homages to other slashers throughout, and you may pick up on them, you may not. You know, but yeah, I think it's a fun movie. It's a fun ride. It's one of those that it's not super long, so you're not gonna be sitting there for 2 hours wondering why the killer's doing this or that. I didn't want that. I wanted to get the basics in there, and I wanted people to have fun with it. And I think it succeeds on those fronts for sure.
And that's amazing because I'm an '80s kid. I grew up on an '80s horror, the golden age, and I love a good old B horror.
Right.
Like every once in a while. I mean, I still even today at 41, I still enjoy watching them. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. And I love the tits and ass. I love the gore. I love that is '80s horror.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Full disclosure, there were a couple times where I had to crop in. We shot with really nice cameras, but I had to crop in. There was a little too much nudity a few times.
Is
I'm
that
not.
a thing?
Well, I'm not a prude, but I will say there were some times where I don't do most of my visual effects work, but like every movie, regardless if you think they have visual effects or don't, they do. I'm telling you, they have visual effects included. So even like simple things like screen replacements on a phone ringing, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I was sitting there adding I was sitting there adding a screen replacement for a phone ringing, and it's during a sex scene, and someone's ass is literally like pounding against the other person, and like I'm sitting there just like masking around the ass cheek, and I texted this person because I know her very well, and like we're friends, and I'm like, I'm so tired of looking at your ass at this point. And, I'm a guy. I love nudity, but I don't know. It's just yeah. It's there's plenty of nudity, and there's a lot of gore in this. Like
That's
the
amazing.
special effects, it really came through. I was really happy with the special effects for sure. Yeah.
Now, is it tough as a filmmaker to see actors and actresses butt ass naked and you know filming and then look at them? I mean, have a conversation with them afterwards,
You know,
like wow,
so
I just saw you naked.
it's interesting because there were a couple of them that Dolly Lee, she's a former adults, porn star essentially,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
she and like everybody there, I I am very adamant and I'm very serious about everyone that was on set being like the most professional they could be with it when it comes to things like that.
Hmm.
And there were a few people that reached out to me that wanted to just be on set, and I could tell why they wanted to be on set. They wanted to see naked girls and this and that, and I'm like, you know, I don't play around with that stuff.
Hmm.
That is a safety issue for me, just like
It is.
stunts. And I want everyone to feel 1,000% safe on set, and I want to do everything I can to make it that way. So maintaining eye contact, that's not an issue for me.
Hmm.
We had we had 9 days in a row we shot this, and then we went back and shot like another half a day and then another full day for one extra scene. But the 9 days in a row, we were so busy. It was always about making sure that everyone was comfortable, ready to go, and we were doing the things we needed to do to get the day done. Really.
Hmm.
So like, it's funny when you're shooting like sex scenes or nudity. It's it's usually there's nothing really that sexy about shooting them, to be honest with you. I mean, that's part of I think the illusion when you're putting something on screen is trying to make it make it sexy, which is kind of funny because there's actually a line in the film. So one thing that I haven't really driven home or talked about much is that there's a lot of commentary just on indie film in this movie also. And
Really?
oh yeah, for sure. Because I think that a lot of I think a lot of I think some filmmakers get like a little bit of I don't even want to call it success, just a little bit of like they have 50 likes or 100 likes on one of their posts on Facebook, and they just think they're hot shit, And it's like
Yeah.
we're all human. I don't care. Like I think it would be an absolute amazing opportunity to work with someone like Nicolas Cage one day. But you know what?
Oh, I love Nicolas Cage. I love him.
He's one of my favorites. But
Yeah.
if he was, and I don't think he is, but if he was a horrible human being, I would not want. I don't care how big a celebrity you are or what you've accomplished. Kindness is always going to go so much further with me. It's going to mean so much more to me. And like just being nice. And I feel like there's an ego with certain directors. It's like, dude, we're making believe,
Yeah.
and we're making believe with B movies. It's
Yeah.
let's have fun. Let's fucking have fun here, and
Exactly.
let's hopefully the audience will like feel that fun and like have fun with us.
Yes.
But there's definitely a lot of commentary on indie film, and just all the little nuances from the directors to the writers to even like we have a character who's literally the boom pole guy. He's the guy holding the boom mic, and there's like little tidbits in there about that. Even like there's a lot of little nods here and there, I think, in the film. But if that's not why you're there, it's fine. You'll miss it. It's not a big deal, believe me.
Yeah. Now, now it's such a incredible idea, but it's a off the wall whack out fucking idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Santa Claus fucking losing his shit on
Yeah,
a porn shoot.
yeah.
What? How did you come up with that?
First, I'd like to preface all of this, and I will get to that. But my first film is about a nun who rips her own eye out and hunts down corrupt clergy and Nazis with a katana and a chainsaw. And that's on Tubi. It's Fontaine and the Vengeful Nun Who Wouldn't Die. So it's not like this is that far out. Like,
Okay, I'm putting that on my watch list, by the way.
yeah. It's I would say it's less or it's less horror and it's more exploitation, but it has a lot of
Mhm.
practical effects, and that was a tough one to make too. But okay, so Triple Xmas, I was actually so we have the two films that'll be out. Triple Xmas will be out very soon, and so we shot Fontaine, and then we actually shot a different movie, which will be the next one that comes out. And after the second movie, which is called Absolution, it's definitely not a horror film. It's like a revenge thriller. But after that, I wanted to. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Before that film, I was trying to come up with a concept that would be easy and contained, a slasher film. I wanted to make
Mhm.
a horror film. And I wanted it to be mostly like in one house. And in my head, what kept coming in my head was like Slumber Party Massacre, you know,
Mhm.
like those Corman films, and
Yeah,
I love those, like especially
those
from
were
two.
great.
Yeah. They don't take themselves seriously, and these girls running around lingerie and a killer, and like I kept trying, and like I was trying to force myself to come up with something, and like creatively, I cannot force myself to do something. If it's not there, it's just not going. It's just not going to happen. And so, um, I spent weeks and weeks trying to write something that was like a slasher film, and then in a matter of a couple weeks, I wrote an entire feature-length film that was Absolution. So we shot that, and then fast forward to I'm halfway done with post, and I get this really weird idea about a killer Santa, and it was kind of a combination of talking to someone I barely knew. She and I were just like messaging back and forth, and she was like, "I love practical effects," and she actually ended up in the movie, which is funny. But she's like,
Nice.
"I love practical effects. I love kills. What are some of your favorite kills?" And so like I started talking to her one day on the way back from I shoot weddings on the weekends, and I was on my way back from that, and then I talked to her for like 45 minutes just about kills. It wasn't even about the film or anything like that. It was just about practical effects and kills. And then I started bouncing ideas off my girlfriend, who is just amazing, and and we started coming up. Like I came up with the idea of Santa, and then I was throwing ideas towards my girlfriend's way, and she was bouncing them back my way, and like, well, what if this and what if that? And in a matter of like 2 weeks, I wrote like a 60-page first like vomit draft, and none of the characters were fleshed out. But it gave me the bones of what I wanted to start with. And then I sent it to the person I collaborated with on Fontaine, and he's an amazing writer, and he took a lot of my weird ideas and just built on them and fleshed out these characters, and I just jumped head first into an Indiegogo and started casting people. I knew I wanted Drew Marvick as Santa almost immediately. I had seen him do a few other things, and I just absolutely loved his presence, and like I knew he was who I wanted. So as soon as I attached him, I was off to the races. Honestly, yeah.
He also had the amazing Felissa Rose in this movie. How was it working with her?
She honestly, if you've never met her, she is one of the kindest human beings I've ever met in my life, and I absolutely love her. And she treats everyone with so much respect and love, and it's so genuine.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love meeting someone that has that kind of heart. And it can be hard, especially in today's world. It can be really tough to be caring and loving and genuine. And she's all those things to like the absolute highest amount a human could be.
I've heard nothing but good things about her from other filmmakers.
She is someone I hope to work with in every film I can. If there's a part that I can see her in, or something that is suited for her, I absolutely hope to work with her again and again. It's funny. On the way to set one day, I was headed to set, and she and Drew were both staying in a hotel that was on the way from my house to set, because we shot about 35 minutes out away from my house, and it was in the vineyard. St. Louis has some vineyards. It's really kind of weird, but
That's interesting. Okay.
yeah. There's like a small little wine country here, which is really weird. But
Really?
yeah. But the house we shot in was pretty massive, and it was set up for 10 people to come in, rent it for a week or two, and drink at the vineyards, and then come back and hang out at the house. And it just so happened to work perfect. But on the way to the vineyard where we were shooting, this house we were shooting at, her and Drew's hotel was right there, and I picked them up, and so I was driving with them for like 30 minutes, and she and I started talking about just like love and relationships. And I remember a quote, it's something she said. She says, "I just love love," and I was like, I know you from a few movies, and obviously you're royalty when it comes to horror, but like now I get why everyone absolutely loves you. On top of the fact that you're awesome in all these other films, like you're just an awesome fucking person,
And it's probably the reason why she gets so many roles. I mean, she's still in such high demand when it comes to horror filmmakers.
Yeah, and I think she, I remember her telling me how much she loves horror films and she loves indie horror, and it's very clear when you're working with her, because she doesn't show up and give 50%. She immediately jumps in and is 100%. And if that means she needs to be like real loud or scared or ready to fight someone in a scene, she's ready, and she gives it 100%. She's amazing. Yeah. But
That's awesome.
in all fairness, I think the entire cast and crew just killed it. We had a very bare bones crew, and we have a huge cast. As you can see by the poster, it's nuts how many people are in this film. Someone earlier, they made me laugh. Someone called it the "Where's Waldo" of posters. Which, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, it may not be like if we would have removed some of the people on the sides, it would have looked maybe a little more pleasant to the eye. But I wanted to get as many of the main characters in this poster as possible, and I don't know. There's so many talented people. I don't know if you're familiar with Jessa Flux. She does a lot of indie films. so many people in this film just came and killed it, and some of them I wish we'd have had more time with them, or their roles would have been bigger because they were so good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like the list goes on and on. Morgan Thompson, if you're not familiar with her, she's also amazing. I already mentioned Dolly Lee, and there's so many other people. There's some local actors who I think people in the next couple of years are going to start seeing more and more, and they're just the level of talent that they have is just crazy. It's just, yeah, it was an honor to work with every single person on set. Honestly.
Yeah, because people always ask me like when always people ask me how do I like select my guests.
Yeah.
I would say 25% of the time, filmmakers reach out to me,
Sure.
and then the other 25% of the time, somebody recommends, like a marketing company or someone say, "Hey, would you like to?" The other 50% of the time, I'm just strolling through Facebook indie groups, horror groups, and I just see a fucking poster. I'm like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
That seems amazing. I would love to get this person on my show and talk about it. And that was your posters. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? This Santa Claus has a fucking shotgun. It's a bunch of naked women. What is this?
I love total shouts out to Chris Barnes. He owns Brutal Posters. He's fantastic. The work he does with posters and art for I think he's done I think he's done a bunch of cover art for Vinegar Syndrome also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean he's just go to brutalposters.com, and he's also done like revamps of like The Shining and everything, and just really just as a hobby with that. I mean he does it also professionally, but it's amazing the work he does. He's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the posters are beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. All right. So a lot of indie filmmakers, they say that they prefer practical effects over CGI or graphics or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there a challenge when it comes to practical effects? Like, or especially as an indie filmmaker, are you limited on what you can do, or do you have like these big ideas? Like, oh my goodness, I want this body to explode, but you're limited what you can do.
I think that the worst thing an indie filmmaker can do is be completely stubborn in their approach to making the film and what their expectations are with practical effects, or really any kind of effects, because you're on a limited budget, limited time. I absolutely love practical effects. You asked the question if it complicates things or how hard is it to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the easiest thing in the world, and it can also be the most complicated pain in the ass in the world. It really depends, and sometimes, no matter how many times you've attempted it or done it in the past, or have someone who has a lot of experience, things can go wrong. And it happens, and I think that happens pretty much at any level. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think I've heard big studios have tons of issues with practical. I mean, you take Jaws, the shark they had, they didn't end up using it almost at all because it looked horrible, and they spent
Mm-hmm.
so much money on that shark. I'm not working with the budget that Spielberg was. I'll tell you
No.
that. So I think being able to have a vision and then talking to the person that's doing your practical effects and knowing in advance what is something that can be done and it can still look good, I think that's a good starting point. And then making sure that you're crystal clear with where the camera is going to be and what the shot is going to be, and then making sure that all this kind of comes into play. And that can really become difficult because I shot list a lot of things and I storyboard things, but when you're in the moment, there are times where you throw all that out the window and you say, well, we can combine 3 shots with 1 shot right here, and we don't have the time to reset up all these lights and do everything. But then you have to keep in the back of your head that there's someone you promised a very specific shot that is going to be because
Yeah.
that's how they prepped it. And sometimes the prep involved takes a week or a day or hours. It takes time, and they can't just on the fly change everything.
Yeah.
In one particular instance, we did end up having to use visual effects, but it was that we tried this kill 3 different times. Once on set, and then we tried it twice in my garage, relighting it and just resetting it up so that it looked exactly the same. and it was not happening with the practical effects we had, and it was not going to happen with the practical effects we had. And I spent extra money on more practical effects trying to get it to work, and it just wasn't happening, and it looked bad. It looked really, really bad. So there is one kill that's visual effects had to come in, and sometimes you have to. It hurt my soul to do that.
Yeah. I can imagine.
But sometimes you have to. And I mean, we have so many practical effects and so many gooey kills that like I think it easily outweighs in favor of the 80s practical, feel for sure.
Yeah. Now you got some screenings coming up soon. You got 2 in St. Louis, 1 in Philadelphia, and 2 in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now I understand St. Louis and St. Louis. Why Philly and New Orleans?
So Philly, we actually have one of the guys, Newt Wallen, who is the cameraman on the poster.
Mm-hmm.
He played George in the film. He's the DP essentially. He's the guy shooting the action.
Okay.
He actually runs a theater in Philadelphia, and my co-writer lives in New York, so it's pretty close. He's going to drive down, and then Chris Rupert, who plays the director in Triple Xmas, he lives in Philly also. So there were multiple people that lived over that way, and I knew we could get the theater for almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to make it happen, and and so yeah, I mean, yeah, we wanted to do a screening there, and New Orleans was just like another thing that kind of happened. One of the actors knew another filmmaker who had done some screenings at Zeitgeist, and I got in touch with them. I probably reached out to like 7 or 8 different theaters, honestly, and some just wanted ridiculous amounts that weren't. It wasn't going to happen, And some were like, yeah, if you think you can sell this out, let's do it. So like the New Orleans screenings, Dolly Lee and Niv Arena, they're both going down to rep the film and to like visit with fans. And, yeah, so it's even though I won't be at that one, I will be at the Philly one. It'll be nice that they're going to be down there repping the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and I'm going to do my best to get to that Philly one. I live in Baltimore, so it's only an hour and a half, 2-hour drive.
Okay.
So
yeah. I hope to see you. I hope to see you, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I know specifically with the Philly one, all the tickets do have to be purchased digitally through the site. It's not a big deal. You could show up and still buy them online, but those do have to be purchased online based on how they're doing their ticketing with that. Yeah.
And we guys be doing signings, autograph signings, and photo ops?
We're at the Philly one. We're definitely doing we're doing a Q&A also afterwards, so
nice.
should be fun. But yeah, if anyone wants anything signed, that's definitely not a problem. I hope to have some Blu-rays and maybe a few other merch items at the Philly one. I'll definitely have them at the St. Louis one, and probably will have them at the New Orleans. Another big key factor that a lot of people forget about, and I never want to forget about, is that we ran an Indiegogo and we raised almost $38,000. But because of that, we have a lot of people that bought the movie and paid in advance and posters and everything. And those are all things that I have to, it's just me. I'm the guy. So I'm the one packaging all these things and sending them out. So that's my next big priority, honestly.
Just to get them out.
Yeah, we're taking pre-orders on the website also on our monsterkidfilms.com. You can find the store on there and find a couple movies that we have. But the Blu-rays will be shipped out after the Indiegogo orders. The Indiegogo orders were people that have supported us for about a year now, and they will be the first ones to get sent out for sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Now, okay, so so tomorrow, December 2nd, we're having our first screening, and that's in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay,
and at a historic theater too, which up until last weekend I had never been to, which is kind of funny. It's been in St. Louis for I want to say probably close to 100 years. It's the historic High Point. It's a beautiful theater. It's been renovated. I went last weekend to see another indie filmmaker's film there on the big screen from St. Louis, and I'm excited. I'm super pumped to watch it with an audience.
That's awesome. Now, how can people get tickets for tomorrow's show?
Yeah, it's if you go to monsterkidfilms.com, then you do the /XXXmas. Everything's there. You can pre-order the Blu-ray. You can find all the information on the screenings, and we may update and we may add a couple more screens. As far as different locations, I'm still reaching out to a few other cities, but it's hard. It's hard to really find the right fit. If someone's asking for $1,000 for us to rent their theater for 90 minutes, it's not happening.
You should come to Baltimore. We have the Charles Theater in Baltimore, and it's right there near Micah, which is like one of the biggest art schools in the country.
Yeah.
And it's it's like the artsy district. I mean, that might be an option.
Yeah.
It's a huge part.
I'd really like to hit something a little more West Coast at this point. I really was hoping to do something in Vegas because that's where Drew.
That'll be amazing.
Like he has I'll tell you what, Drew Marvick is as laid back as he is. He's Mr. Charisma. The dude knows how to work it, and he is adored in the indie film community, and for good reason. He's a good dude. Like he's just a really cool guy, and that's also part. I mean, from like I hate to bring this up, but from like a marketing, from a business perspective, you're concentrating a little less on the art at this point and more on the business perspective. You don't want to just have screenings. You want to make sure that people show up and and then purchase tickets and come and see the film. Because we're doing 2 screenings in New Orleans and they're back to back, and it'll look pretty silly if there's 10 people in the theater.
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. So it's it's a lot to fill these screens when people haven't heard of you or the film. And we have the trailer, we have the poster, but yeah, it's just a lot of work. It's I think it comes down to marketing and brand awareness. And just getting the poster and getting the trailers kind of circulated as much as possible. That's my big thing in general. And not just about like film, but anyone that's an artist, even your show, man, when I see your post about it, even if I know I don't have time to check out that episode, I try to like the post because it'll boost the signal and someone else might see it, does have time and can watch
exactly
it, and it's it's one of those
I even tell people that, like, who are subscribers of mine, if you don't have time or you have interest in watching the video, just hit that like button and it boosts up the algorithm so that people who normally wouldn't see that video get to see that video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you have to kind of do whatever you can to keep things rolling,
You do. Oh yeah, but by the way, everyone, if you go down in the description, the website for Monster Kid Productions is down there, so you can purchase tickets, have all the updates on the dates and everything. And the horror room is going to try to. I'm going to try my best to get out there and do a quick video in Philly, and also do like a little review of the movie afterwards.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome, man. Yeah, and like I told you in Messenger, make sure you say hi if you make it out. That'd be a lot
definitely
of fun.
Because I went to which was pretty amazing. I went to my first screening of an indie horror movie after an interview, almost like yours, and it was in Newark, Delaware, which is right there near Philly.
Okay.
And and it was just amazing to see. I was so happy to see an indie filmmaker, horror filmmaker, getting, even if it's for one night, getting their movie up there, next to Saw X or whatever in the same theater, and getting the spot to promote the movie on the big screen, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be that one's gonna be a lot of fun for me because it's a lot of people that I don't get to see very often that were also very involved with the film. So even though I talk to them in text and stuff, it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's gonna be really good energy, I think, at that one. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And like I said, all the people that are involved, there's probably as many people that are involved or close to, at least behind the scenes, on that one, that are going to be there as in St. Louis. So it's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so James, I'm pretty sure you've seen my show. We're going to go shoot down to the fun part of the interview. Yeah. Even though this is just an amazing part, but I'm gonna ask you 3 random horror questions. Okay.
Well, I'll try my best to answer.
All right. So the first one, if you had somebody gave you $100,000 budget to add on to the budget you got with your Indiegogo, what's one thing that you would add it to Triple Xmas that you were like, damn, I wish we could have added that, but it didn't fit into the budget?
Uh, 3 to 4 more shoot days. A couple days with a couple of the actors for sure. We're gonna slow things down a bit on set. You know. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge thing. It wouldn't have cost 100 grand to do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think 3 or 4 more days would have went a long way. You know, that would have been huge. Yeah, I probably could have done that with like 10 or 15 thousand.
Yeah. but that's but that's one thing a lot of indie filmmakers say. They say more time to shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
That is something that is big.
I had a couple people who were involved with the film in different capacities. Some were backers financially who also had a role in the film, and there were a couple of them that said, "Excuse me, excuse me." A couple of them that said, "You know, with as much as you had going on, and you know, I'm surprised it came out, or that you were able to get a movie out of it." And like they've seen the film and they love the film, so they were like very genuinely shocked that we were able to pull everything together. And 9 days for a feature film with this many this many practical effects, it's a lot. One of the effects had to be done in stages where the first part was like 30 to 45 minutes. We got one shot, and then it was 2 hours of more makeup, and then we got another shot. And so, like, just that, if you're not planning your schedule around that so that you can shoot other things, otherwise you're just sitting around, So, if you gave me 100 grand, I'd have done 3 days on set for this one, and I'd have put 85,000 towards my next film. That's what I'd have done.
Smart move. All right. Second question. This is a hard one.
Okay.
What series of horror movies do you wish they would stop making?
I try to keep things as positive as possible.
I would say for good or bad. Like, it's good that it doesn't need a sequel or it's getting long in the tooth.
Yeah, God, this one might be the hardest one. I really don't mind like seeing sequels to most things, even when I know that I'm not gonna like it. Okay, I'll just come out and say it. I wish Blumhouse would just stop making movies altogether. Okay. I like Halloween, but if they're gonna do Halloween, then Halloween needs to be over. If they're gonna pull up, Freddy Krueger, then the series needs to end now. I'm not a fan of that aesthetic. I'm not a fan of their style of humor or anything, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, they do put out a couple good ones a year, but they put out so many movies in volume, horror movies a year, that like when you pushing that kind of out, there's no quality control. There's no
And
gatekeeper.
I'm a big fan in instilling but I don't want to just make movies just to make movies. Every single one of my films has something personal to me attached to it. Even something stupid and crazy like XXX about a killer Santa killing porn stars. Like there is commentary in there. Who's going to actually pick up on that commentary? Who's going to actually take anything away from it? I don't know. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I don't ever want to make a movie where you watch the film and in the first couple minutes you're like, oh my God, here they go. They're shoving that social commentary down your throat. I have thoughts and opinions on things, but I don't want to make that the focus of the film. I want that to be in there, and I do want to put my feelings behind things into my art, but I don't want to make it so ham-fisted, shoved down your throat. And I feel like Blumhouse has really kind of become bad with that in some ways, and a lot of newer films have. And that's not to say I don't even agree with some of what they're saying, because I do. That's the wild. Yeah.
I do too. Like the last Candyman, whatever that was. Like, I agreed with what the messages were, but it was like the whole fucking movie was woke messages every 2 seconds about police brutality. And I was like, I agree with that, but I don't necessarily want to see that in my horror movie. And I go to see a horror movie. Yes, I like messages, but they need to be subtle. But I don't like it to be in my face. I'm trying to escape from the real world.
Yeah, there's also like a nuance involved because I feel like Candyman. I liked both of them. I mean, the original is in my opinion superior, but I'm
Hmm.
always gonna, not always, but most of the time I'm gonna say the original superior.
Yeah.
But you know, Tony Todd is Candyman. You're not don't I mean you can try, but it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna
Yeah.
match that. But
Exactly.
you know, there was a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, you know, there was a lot of social commentary in that first one, but I felt like it was handled with a little more nuance. You know, and
Mhm.
no, that's not to say I didn't like the new one. I did like the new one also. I thought some of the stuff was just amazing. You know, I just watched, kind of going off the rails, but I just watched the new Doctor Who episode, and I loved about 85-90% of it. I loved it. And there were a few moments towards the end where I'm like, oh no, come on, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so in your face with the commentary. And I agree with most of it too. That's what kills me is
Yeah.
that, like, you know, I agree with it. I just don't need it so shoved down my, you know. But I think, I don't know. I think there's a pendulum when it comes to commentary and people's reactions. And I think when you have such a polarized environment of left versus right and this constant news cycle where everyone is up against each other and it's all outrage and it's all everyone's angry at everybody,
Exactly.
it swings one direction and then it swings the other. And when it swings back really hardcore, you know.
Hmm.
And you know, most people are not super left or super right. We're somewhere in the middle, leaning one direction typically.
Exactly. And that's
And
my
so,
big issue with like Hollow. You're talking about like Halloween Kills. Like it was there was a good chunk of that movie that
yeah,
it was just about mob mentality and mental illness. It was
yeah,
like 50% of that movie, like they could have cut out and the movie would have been great.
yeah.
50% right in the middle could have been just cut completely out and that movie would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the first one. The second one, I rolled my eyes at a few times. And again, man, you know, we're talking about it's so hard to do this. I typically don't talk about films if I don't like them
Mhm.
because one, I'm not the person that was in David Gordon Green's position. You know, I
Yeah.
don't know what he had to deal with. I've never tried to make a movie with whatever that budget was. It was probably 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever millions of dollars he
Yeah, a
had.
couple minutes.
And the fact of the matter is he's the director, but really, when it comes down to it, he's not the guy putting the money forward, so he's not
Mm-mm.
the one making the calls. You know, like he is, but he's not. He's the one making the calls as long as he stays within the studio's lanes. You know, and so yeah, it's tough. It's tough to.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen the new one, and I'm hearing that I probably shouldn't, but I probably
Yeah.
will eventually.
But like I felt I don't feel bad for him because he's probably made millions of dollars for
Yeah,
making a trilogy. But I felt bad because he wanted to make it because the first one was great. He
yeah,
wanted to make it a one movie thing, and then New Line was like, "Hey, can you make two more movies? Here's some money, And what do you do?
yeah, yeah, yeah. There was just an interview with the oh god, Edgar Wright. I think it was Edgar Wright. He was on Indie Film Wire or Film Wire or something like that, and he was talking about. I'm paraphrasing, and I didn't read the entire article, so you know I'm going to keep it as limited as what I did read. And that was essentially that there's now this like machine that is constantly pumping out movies and content, and he was basically just saying it's okay not to always be making a film, or it's okay not to have this film link to your next film that links to the next film and outlining the next 5 years of. I I like Marvel films up to a point, and I was all on board up to the end game one. And
Mm-hmm.
since then, I've kind of dropped off a little bit. I think
I have
just
to.
too much all the time. Give things a little bit of a breather, I think is what he was saying. And I think that's. I don't think we need three films for every single. You know,
Yeah.
give it a couple years. But that's not how businesses look at those things. So it's kind of like that cross section of art meeting business and studios just wanting to make profit. You know?
Yep. It's not about quality. Sometimes it's about quantity.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. How many can we get out? Yeah,
I know. All right. So the final question:
yeah.
when you make a movie, do you have in mind for a sequel in place
Oh,
already?
that's tough. No, I'm not for the most part. There are ideas that come to me. Not for the most part. I find myself when I write, I do find myself writing characters that take on the appearance of actors that I really like, and I see those actors embodying these characters. But I made a joke earlier on Facebook about about the new title for if there was a Triple Xmas Part Two, and the joke was it's beginning to look a lot like Fistmas. Okay, it's entirely crude and fucked up, but that was the joke. And then I asked people to contribute, and some of the stuff that people contributed was just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah.
And it's a joke. I mean, I've made jokes with a couple people, producers involved with the film, that in this sequel it would be at Easter time, and the Easter Bunny would be attacking Santa, and then maybe they team up at the end or something. I don't know. I'm not, yeah, I think right now, if there's a sequel that I would have in my head sooner, it would actually be a sequel to my Maniac Nun, which is the
Okay.
Fontaine one.
Hmm.
But I have like two other scripts in my head and story ideas that's completely unrelated to Triple Xmas, and definitely also leaning less into the B movie territory. Um, yeah, like Absolution is definitely not a B film. It's a much more serious. It is gritty, but it's kind of like Blue Ruin. I don't know if you're familiar with that film.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's kind of like a mix of Blue Ruin with a little bit of Death Wish Part Three. So there's some
Oh,
exploitation
nice.
in there. Yeah, there's
Okay.
some exploitation in there, and there's definitely like that gritty feel, but it's definitely way less over the top than like Triple Xmas or Fontaine. And again, we already shot that. It's halfway edited, so I
Nice.
expect that to be released next year. And my co-writer's working on something that's kind of like a weird cross between Midsummer and a little bit of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, just a little bit.
That
And
sounds fun. That sounds
what I've
fun.
read so far of the first draft is just fantastic. He's so talented, Louis Otero. He's so talented, and so I like to like bring up new stories and have new ideas and bring back a lot of these actors. And I love to work with actors in different capacities, something that they may not always get an opportunity to do.
Hmm.
So I'm not opposed to sequels, but I don't know that I need to. That's not like the first thing I think about. Definitely, yeah.
Okay. One last question. Have you ever had an idea and then after you wrote it down or you shot it, you're like, fuck, that's too far?
um, it's not that it's too far. You definitely have to go and watch Fontaine, because
Okay.
the first 6 or 7 minutes you can tell that I'm not really that concerned about. Um, I'm not concerned about pushing boundaries. I'll tell you that. I don't like. I honestly, so as much as I love horror, I also love exploitation films. Like, I absolutely love them, and I love the history behind them, and um, I love all the nuance. And I think that you can do a lot of things, and there's always going to be someone that's going to be upset with you, right?
Hmm.
And it is really good to have people around you trust, that if you're unsure if you're doing something that might be hurtful to like a larger audience or inconsiderate, to, like in a real mean way, it's good to have those voices around you to stop you. You know,
Hmm.
I had someone who I absolutely love, Brian Davis. He's in two of my films, and he's my stunt choreographer. He's a good friend of mine, and he wanted me to help him write something that was about. It was like a sci-fi fantasy, but it also had to do with like slavery. Now, Brian is African American, and I said, Brian, I have no problem contributing to a writing room on this topic, but obviously I'm white. You know, I'm limited
Yeah.
to what I can. Like
Yeah.
if we have a writing room of 4 people, I want 3 of them to be African American, because what can I contribute to? I can contribute the human story, but I've
Hmm.
never experienced anything like that. I've never experienced racism. I don't have that to
Yeah.
draw from. So there
Hmm.
are some things that I wouldn't necessarily like jump into to try to tell stories of. But as far as like being offensive, I don't know. I'm not overly concerned, but I do also like having those people around me that sometimes say, James, you may want to take pause on this.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, because like it's good to have people around you to tell you no. I think.
Hmm.
I think it's really good to have that, and even when you don't like hearing it,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
But aren't horror movies meant to be offensive? And I mean, if you think about it, if you look at the roots of horror, they're offensive to everybody. They're misogynistic. They're a little bit racist. You know,
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're definitely homophobic. I mean, like it attacks everybody. Horror movies, one of the great thing about it attacks everybody equally. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so like yeah, I mean, horror movies have the fun of horror movies is they are a little bit offensive.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's at least some level of yeah, offensiveness with a lot of horror and exploitation. I mean, especially
Yeah,
exploitation films, you
especially
know. And
exploitation.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
for sure. So yeah, I mean, everybody has a different threshold of what they can take. You know,
Mhm.
you know, if one of my movies has something in it that I know could be triggering to people, I don't mind saying, hey, this does have sexual assault in it. I want everyone to go watch Fontaine and the Vengeful Nun Who Wouldn't Die. It has sexual assault in it. I'm gonna tell you right now, it
Mhm.
has sexual assault. A lot of exploitation films do. It's not
Mhm.
glorified in any way, shape, or form. If anything, we did the best job we could to make it look as disgusting as possible. Because sexual assault is disgusting.
It is.
And I think that yeah, I think as long as you're upfront about what's in a film, I was actually a little aggravated because I wanted to put kind of just a content not warning, but just kind of like when you have a rated film, it has strong language, blah blah blah, whatever's giving it that rating. When you don't have a film that's rated, you can't do that. And like streaming platforms, for the most part, won't allow you to put any kind of text before the film like that. They won't accept it. They
Really?
just won't accept it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they wouldn't accept my film because I wanted to put that on there. I wanted to say, sexual assault, language, drug use, all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, but yeah. So you kind of have to rely upon IMDb to like list all those things and hope people are going to go check it out if they're, sensitive to those things.
So, James, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Yeah. I'm on Twitter at JamesD7004. I'm on Instagram at Monster Kid Productions, but let me double check real quick. Sorry. I always forget because there's a bunch of underscores in there. It is. I'm also at James Dean on Facebook, but on Instagram it's monster_kid_productions, and then of course monsterkidfilms.com. My email's on there. All my socials are on there. Monsterkidfilms.com. You'll find me through there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah,
And
thanks a lot. I really hope to see you at the premiere, and if not, either way, I hope to hear back from you, and I hope we do this again soon, man. Yeah,
listen, man, listen. You're more than welcome to come on, and I am going to do my 100% best to get out there
yeah, yeah,
to Philly in about a week. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yep. Listen, everybody, please, if you go to Monster Kid Production, the website in the description. If you're in the Philly, St. Louis, New Orleans area, get your tickets. Check out the screening. This looks like a fun B movie, titties and gore, packed fun movie.
Yeah. I think that describes it.
I know. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the horror room. I'm Travis Spruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.